Now, most people, I'm guessing, will have seen the 1986 Australian classic movie Crocodile Dundee. If you haven't and you live under a rock somewhere, let's refresh your memory.
He's got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
That is a knife. Well, 40 years later, a never-before-told story about how the film was made is out in cinemas today. Let's take a look.
We'd never made a movie. We grew up in Granville, and in Granville you learnt to have a go. So we were having a go.
He was the brains of the outfit. John said, you know, we're going into show business.
The Paul Hogan show was huge.
Good evening, viewers.
Gravitas, Swagger, those guys had it in spades.
I virtually wrote it walking down the street.
Laughed my frock off. I said, well, now there's an opportunity and I think we should grab it.
Oh, it looks good, Emma. And I'm happy to say documentary maker and director Delvene Delaney joins us now from Sydney. Delvene, congratulations on this project.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Now, I just want to put some context around this. Your late husband, John Cornell, produced and co-wrote Crocodile Dundee. This documentary has a lot of really interesting archival footage. How did you come across it?
My co-director, co-producer, co-writer, Victoria Baldock, and I had been working in the archives of John's, which had lain dormant and dusty in my big shed for 10 years. I didn't even know what was in the tubs. And we were needing to restore the film because the negative was badly damaged. And so in searching for all of the elements to restore the film to 4K, the new version of, well, it's not a new version, Crocodile Dundee, the encore cut, the restored version, which is coming to cinemas on May 8th. In order to do all of that, we had to go and find all of the elements. And so in doing that, we found incredible things that all belonged to John and just dumped into all of these plastic tubs. And so it was quite a moment when we opened them to see what he had kept. Because, you know, curiously, as a widow, sometimes you find out more about the love of your life after they've passed in terms of what they leave behind. And that was a big factor in this particular experience of making the doco.
How was it for you? Because it must be, I mean, sort of mixed feelings, mixed emotions going back through all this wonderful old vision that you didn't know still existed.
Confronting. It was bittersweet, really, because I really wanted John to be acknowledged and honoured for his contribution to Australia on so many fronts, really. World Series cricket, Paul Hogan show and Crocodile Dundee. And so to see him, particularly in the editing process, every day looking as gorgeous and smart and sexy and beautiful and powerful as he was back in his prime was confronting for me. And I spent most of that time in tears, as did Victoria and our editor, Paula Grusevan. And so we supported and sustained each other through that process. And after probably 6 weeks, I started to feel grateful that I was actually there to be able to relive John in that editing room. And it was only when I saw footage of him old and unwell that I became sad. So for me, it was a very unforeseen, unexpected way to process my grief. And I think that's why there's so much love in Love of an Icon.
That is a really lovely story. Heartbreaking, but also very lovely as well, Delvene. I think everyone knows that Crocodile Dundee was wildly successful, but I didn't realise the extent to which the cast and crew was actually not totally inexperienced in feature films, but they didn't really have that much experience, did they?
In television, yes, but no. Peter Feynman, the director, had never directed. John and Paul had never done a movie. Linda had never done a movie. You know, there were so many key people who'd never done a film before. But that was one of the reasons why John, as the producer, was intent on surrounding himself with Australia's best, like Russell Boyd, who brought this incredible cinematic grandeur to that very simple love story, and Ray Brown, who was key grip on both films, a legend in his industry, who made that whole experience of filming in Kakadu, which was very difficult and remote and so long ago, he made that as streamlined as possible and brought so much character and confidence to the set that it became a very collaborative, creative process with everybody wanting to do their best, because back in those days, if you had an $8 million budget, you could only afford to buy that much film. It wasn't like you had the luxury of take 127 or whatever, which you have digital. You had to be on your mark, and everybody had to lift their game. And so I think that also brought an extra dimension to the outcome of Crocodile Dundee.
All right, Delvene Delaney, it is a lovely documentary and a very moving one as well. Congratulations again, and thank you so much for speaking with News Breakfast this morning.
Thank you.